Today we're taking a look at the Montech NX600 CPU cooler, a dual tower air cooler that's aiming squarely at the performance mainstream without the premium price tag. On paper it promises strong thermal performance, broad socket compatibility and a clean, understated design, but specs only tell half the story. So in this review I'll be putting it through proper thermal and noise testing to see if it is a genuinely competitive cooler or just another budget contender. But before we dive into this review, we've noticed a lot of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel yet, so if you've not subscribed to the channel, now's the perfect time to do so.
Meet the new MSI GeForce RTX 5090 Lightning Z.
So this is the Montech NX600. It's a dual tower, dual 120mm fan CPU air cooler. It is available to purchase now. You can get it either in this plain black version, also available in white, and you can also pick it up in the RGB version, which is the one on the test system. That's also available in either black or white color schemes. You can get these now in the UK from Scan. The standard or regular version is priced around £25 and the RGB version is a little more expensive at about £30 in the UK, which puts the NX600 in direct competition with one of the best value CPU coolers for a long time, the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120. It features a dual tower heatsink with 2 fin stacks and 6 heat pipes aimed at delivering solid thermal performance under sustained load. It uses a soldered copper base to improve heat transfer from the CPU, helping reduce thermal resistance. Cooling is handled by 2 Montech E28 PWM fans focused on strong airflow and controlled noise, either with or without RGB. Socket support covers all current Intel and AMD platforms, including LGA1700, AM4, AM5, making it easy to drop into most modern builds. So on paper, it looks like a decent cooler, this. Dual heat sinks and dual 120mm fans with 28mm thickness. In terms of the size, it is quite large. It is a dual tower air cooler, but it's not as big as some of the real massive ones like the NHD15G2, the Be Quiet, Dark Rock Pro, etc. It's a little more compact with dimensions of 120 by 132.5 by 160mm, and as I say, it is compatible with all current Intel and AMD desktop platforms, including LGA1700 and AMD AM4 and AM5. So let's take a closer look at it. You can see 2 pretty large heat sinks there. There's a total of 52 aluminium fins and it has 6 heat pipes at the base, and it's a soldered copper base, so the heat pipes are soldered into the copper base. It comes with this protective label. Peel that off and you can see it's a nickel plated copper base plate. It comes equipped with 220mm fans. The fans attached to the cooler using the wire spring clip design. Not a favourite of mine, but this is a budget cooler and it is a really low cost budget cooler, so I didn't really expect anything more than that. There probably is some designs on the market that are better. With the fans removed, you can see the heatsink a little better. 52 aluminium fins on each heatsink, and it comes in a plain aluminium finish, so it's not coated. So the black one isn't coated black, the white one isn't coated in white. It is just this plain aluminium silver finish. On top of each heatsink there are a couple of plastic covers, and they are literally just there to cover up the top of the heatsink and give it a bit more of a premium look, you would say, or give it a little bit of style and character. And they just clip to the heatsink top on some plastic clips. Looks okay. The plastic is not the most premium feeling plastic, but again, have to go back to the fact that this is a really low cost budget cooler. Just £25 you're going to be paying for this in the UK, and I can't really think of many dual tower, dual 120mm coolers available for much cheaper than that, or even around that price. So it does sound like good value for money. Fans that come included, these are Montech's E28 PWM fans, and as I say, in either black or white color schemes, no RGB, or you can get the RGB version if you're willing to spend another £5 more on RGB lighting. E28, so these are 28mm thickness fans. On all 4 corners of the fans are anti-vibration rubber mounts, and as I say, they attach to the cooler with those wire spring clips. They also daisy chain to each other. The standard fans just use a 4-pin standard PWM header, and you connect both of those 2 together, which means then there's just a single 4-pin PWM to connect up to the motherboard. There's no software, no fan control software, no RGB software with either of these, RGB or standard version, so it is just connect direct to the motherboard. Where you go. The fans have a speed range of 800 to 2000 RPM, maximum airflow of 85.09 cubic feet per minute, and a maximum air pressure of 3.35 millimeters H2O, and a maximum noise output of around 34 decibels per fan, and they use a hydrodynamic bearing. Included with the cooler is the installation guide and user manual. It's really easy to follow that for the installation. You also get a bag of accessories included. So in here you have an Intel specific backplate. There's no backplate needed for AMD installation. It uses the stock motherboard backplate. It's also got a bag labeled Intel with Intel upper mounting brackets and standoffs and screws. And then there's another bag labeled AMD, if you get it the right way around. It also has in there the AMD upper mounting brackets, standoffs and installation screws. There's also a small tube of thermal compound included and a spreading tool for the thermal compound. Doesn't come with thermal compound pre-applied. It's only quite a small tube, but you might get a couple of installations out of that. So if you do need to remove the cooler, if you've upgraded your CPU or for any other reason, you may get 2 uses out of that thermal compound, which is decent. Our test system uses an AMD AM5 platform, so I'll run you through quickly of the installation process on AM5. To install it on AM5, you first need to remove the stock upper mounting brackets from the motherboard, then place the AM5 standoffs in position, put the upper mounting brackets in place and screw those down using the included screws, apply some thermal compound to the CPU and then lower the cooler down in position and screw it down to the upper mounting brackets, tightening each screw progressively and a little at a time for optimal contact. Clip the fans back to the heat sinks, then connect the RGB connection and the PWM connection between the 2 fans, then connect the PWM cable to a spare motherboard PWM header, and in the RGB version connect the 3-pin 5V ARGB connection to a 3-pin 5V ARGB header. That's the installation complete. So the installation process is really quick and simple. As I say, if you look at the manual, follow the manual, you shouldn't really go wrong with the installation. The only thing worth noting about installation is the middle fan. It is a little awkward with those wire spring clips. I think because the fans are also 28mm thickness, doesn't give you much space to slide that down. Sometimes the spring clips catch on the heatsink. It can be a little awkward, so just be careful, take your time with that part of the installation. But other than that, it's a really easy, simple, straightforward installation, 5-10 minutes. You've got the cooler installed. It connects up to all standard motherboard headers for the PWM speed control and the ARGB. There's no software needed for the cooler to run. It is just all controlled by motherboard BIOS. So let's take a look at the thermal performance of the Montech NX600. If you want to check out our full testing methodology, head over to kitguru.net where there will be a full written page for the NX600. Looking at noise output first, the Montech NX600 sits at the bottom end of the chart, recording 54 decibels peak noise output, which makes it the loudest air cooler tested to date. Significantly louder than premium options such as the NH-U12A Dark Rock 5 AK620 and SK620V, and the current budget king, the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 SE V3. The NX600 prioritizes fan speed over acoustic refinement, and while tuning the fan curve may help, it's clearly not aimed at silent PC builds. With the fans running at maximum speed, the Montech NX600 delivers solid but not class-leading thermal performance, recording a steady-state CPU temperature of 61 degrees C over ambient. That puts it on par with the established air coolers like the Be Quiet, Dark Rock 5 and the Corsair A115, and level with its main competitor, the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120. However, this result comes at an acoustic cost. At 54 decibels, the NX600 is the loudest cooler in this test. When noise is normalised to 40 decibels, thermal performance drops to 65 degrees C, which sees the NX600 still hold the middle of the pack, sat just behind the AK620 Digital Pro and the Sudoku SK620V. But crucially, the NX600 outperforms the Thermalright Peerless Assassin in the noise normalised test, which is the most useful metric since users will be more likely to run their systems with fan curves rather than just flat out fans. In AMD PBO testing, the Montech NX600 records a steady state CPU temperature of 60 63 degrees C over ambient with an average CPU clock multiplier of 51.3 times. Placing it in the middle of the chart again, it manages to sustain solid boost frequency but trails more efficient dual tower coolers with slightly higher clocks at lower temperatures. However, it again trades blows with what most would consider the best value cooler, the Thermalright Peerless Assassin. So the Montech NX600 gives users a problem but a good one, since now there's two great value budget air coolers to choose from that offer very similar levels of performance. So overall, you've got to like this cooler because it is such a low cost budget air cooler, and it's still, even though it's quite loud at maximum fan speed, it is up there trading blows with some of the much more expensive dual tower coolers. And even when you do reduce the noise back down to 40 decibels, it still is there or thereabouts, giving you similar performance to other dual tower coolers that are 2 or 3 times more expensive. So it is great value for money. It may not be the most high-end, full of features air cooler, but it does what it sets out to very well. It is a very basic design. You really can't argue with the performance at that price. There are some good points and bad points. Obviously, the good points are it's very low cost, £25 for the standard version, an extra £5 gets you 2 ARGB fans. Thermal performance is decent, even when noise is reduced down to 40 decibels, noise normalized. The ARGB effects on the ARGB version, they're decent. There's nothing wrong with them. It's a decent looking cooler. It may not have the highest build quality. It's got that standard silver aluminium finish to the heatsink, which may not appeal to everyone. It is very loud at maximum fan speed, but you can quite easily tune your fan curve to your desired noise level. And the build quality isn't perfect, like I say, but at this price, there's not much you can complain about. In terms of the head-to-head versus the Thermalright cooler, there's nothing between them when it comes to thermals. The Montech is a little louder at max fan speed, but gives slightly better noise normalized performance. The Thermalright cooler is a little more compact, but the Montech has better RAM clearance, so there really isn't much to choose between them. The great thing is that users now have 2 excellent value performance air coolers to choose from. So that's the NX600, NX600 ARGB. Let me know what you think of these coolers in the YouTube comment section. If you enjoyed watching this video, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to Kit Guru if you've not already done so. If you enjoy what we do here at Kit Guru and you want to help support us, you could always head over to our store and pick up some merch, or you could even subscribe to our Patreon. We're also on TikTok now, so check us out over there. And if you want to check out all the in-depth technical reviews, head over to kitguru.net.